For at least the last 20 years, the Eckankar Center of Culver City has stood empty. Eckists might say the place is home to spiritual services of light and sound. But I've lived here my whole life, and I've never once seen it open. But what is Eckankar? Most people have never heard of Eckankar.
Eckenkar? No. Is it like a Hebrew text or something?
In Sanskrit, it literally means the one path. And we also amended with co-worker with God.
That's Sri Harold Klemp, the 973rd living Eckmaster and spiritual leader of Eckenkar for over 40 years. But what does that mean? The official story goes like this. In 1965, a journalist named Paul Twitchell founded Eckenkar based on the teachings bestowed unto him by the spirits of an ancient lineage of Eckmasters. With the knowledge of universal truth, Twitchell compiled what he knew into literature and officially launched Eckenkar in 1967. After Twitchell's passing, he was succeeded by another Eckmaster before Sri Harold Klemp took his place as the current living Eckmaster. One key thing to know is Twitchell has been accused of plagiarism of both himself and others in his books. Eckenkar is a result of religious teachings that he's borrowed from and flat out copy and pasted into his books. Current leader Harold Klemp has acknowledged these allegations and dubbed Twitchell a master compiler when it came to spiritual practices. Most of this plagiarism relates to the Indian traditions that he appropriated Eckenkar from. Like many 20th century spiritualists, Twitchell was drawn to the broad category of religious practice called sound current theology.
Sacred sound. Woven into the language of life.
Sound current theology is a belief that states of spirituality correspond with holy sound.
The sound behind all sounds.
For Eckists, that sound is the hue.
Hue is the sound of soul.
This word hue is the ancient name for God, a love song to God. Soul has heard and is yearning to return home to God.
The idea of sound current theology itself has its roots in Punjabi Sant Mat and other mystic sound traditions like Sufism. Eckists also practice soul travel.
So we see dreams as where another vehicle to contact and to go into the higher worlds, that actually we leave the body and go into these other worlds when we dream. And so a lot of what Eckenkar is, it's a path of experience. So like all the things that happen outwardly, the books and talks and all that, they're just to help people go inside themselves and connect to the God energy.
This is Alan Polner, a former elementary school teacher and Eckist for over 40 years, who runs virtual services of light and sound.
A lot of times people find Eckenkar, and like myself 40 years ago, because I had an experience with the light and like, whoa, what is that? And wanting to find out more, and then suddenly finding this path. And I still am kind of skeptical. But my heart went, Alan, you're home.
Across the globe, Eckenkar is estimated to have about 50,000 members in 140 countries. Chris, a newer member from Nigeria where Eckenkar maintains a consistent presence, shared his perspective on Eckenkar.
Eckenkar is not just a religion, it's a path to spiritual freedom. And then apart from that, it's a secret path to God through dreams and soul travel.
From an outsider's perspective, Eckenkar just sounds like a collection of buzzwords and appropriated teachings. However, people joined for personal reasons.
When I had issues, I had a lot of issues. I had a lot of challenges. I was depressed. Let me put it that way. I attempted to commit suicide twice. And then he taught me how to sing the hymn. It worked for me like a magic. I was able to solve my problem.
Something he emphasized over and over was the agency he felt Eckankar gave him.
I was able to be spiritually aware of myself and my environment.
Unlike Catholicism, in which he was raised, which is as much an organization as a faith, Eckankar promotes self-direction.
That is what really attracted me to Eckankar. That is like, do it yourself. You don't need to rely on someone to pray for you.
Chris didn't always receive a positive reaction when he told people he was an Eckist.
Where do you worship? Which church? I said I'm a member of Eckankar. He was wowed. He was shocked to his bone marrow. He said, are you serious? I said, yes. He began to react negatively, and then I had to correct him. He said, Eckankar is a ritualist, religious. He said they eat flesh and drink blood. I was just laughing. He said a lot of things. And I said, have you been to the church before? He said, no. And I said, how did you know about all of this? He said someone told him, and he has heard a lot of things about Eckankar that we are ritualists. It's an occultic group.
Clearly, there are some misconceptions about what Eckankar is. But does it qualify as a religion?
What qualifies as a religion is a community of people that center around shared beliefs about how to govern themselves according to a higher power.
While Eckankar does partially meet those standards, every Eckist we spoke to emphasized how personal it was.
It functions more like a spiritual path, but when it was founded in 1965, they realized that there were so many like fly-by-night paths around and new age kinds of things that if you don't become a nonprofit, you don't have that legal organization, especially for donations and all that, you could probably just disappear. You don't have a life in the outer world.
Eckankar has certainly developed a material presence in the outer world. Estimates suggest that there are more than 300 Eckankar centers all over the globe. But how do they fund them, when Eckankar membership is supposedly donation-based and only $60 a year? Unfortunately, we might never know. As a church, even in name only, Eckankar has no obligation to report its finances to the government. That brings us back to what began our investigation. What's happening at the Culver City Eckankar Center? When we spoke to Polner, he told us they'd been closed during the pandemic, but that was 2 years ago. When we went to the building, we noticed a sign around back that says it's actually a stained glass store, which explains the confusing property records. But then, I've never seen any stained glass going in or out of here either. But after learning more about Eckankar, it makes sense. The real work of Eckankar happens inside you.